There is a plant growing across East Asia right now with 64% omega-3 fatty acids in its seeds, higher than salmon, higher than sardines, higher than any fish oil supplement you have ever purchased. It self-seeds so aggressively that farmers plant it once and harvest it for generations. 500 million people eat it every week. You have probably never heard its name. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why a $4 billion industry hoped you never would. Welcome back to Gardening Explained with Harry. If you want to discover more plants that science forgot to tell you about, hit that subscribe button right now. Walk into any Korean barbecue restaurant tonight. Watch the table next to you. Families will be wrapping grilled pork belly in large green leaves with serrated edges and striking purple undersides. This is not lettuce. This is not spinach. This is something far more interesting. And those diners know exactly what they are doing. Fly to Tokyo and order sashimi at any traditional restaurant. Every piece of raw fish arrives resting on a single decorative leaf. Tourists assume it is garnish. They push it aside. They are making a mistake. That leaf contains compounds that kill bacteria and parasites. Japanese chefs have placed it under raw fish for 500 years. The leaf is not decoration. It is ancient food safety technology hiding in plain sight. In traditional Chinese medicine shops, from Beijing to Guangzhou, dried bundles of this same plant fill glass jars on wooden shelves. Practitioners prescribe it for coughs, for nausea, for skin inflammation, for allergic reactions, for digestive problems. The documentation fills thousands of pages in medical texts that Western researchers never bothered to translate. Here is the first clue that something went wrong with our knowledge systems. You know basil. You see it in every grocery store. You know oregano and rosemary and thyme. These herbs sit in kitchen cabinets across America and Europe. But this plant, consumed by more people than all of those herbs combined, does not exist in Western consciousness. Most Americans have never heard its name spoken out loud. Most Europeans could not identify it in a photograph. The problem begins with language. Koreans call this plant ki-kainip. Japanese call it shiso. Chinese call it zisu. Botanists call it Perilla frutescens. 4 completely different names for one single plant. No unified identity in English or any Western language. When a plant has no consistent name, it has no consistent presence in databases. It has no presence in cookbooks. It has no presence in research funding proposals. The fragmentation was not intentional, but the result was complete erasure from Western awareness. Compare this situation to cilantro. Cilantro and coriander are the same plant, different names for leaves versus seeds, but Western food culture unified these terms. Everyone knows what cilantro means. You find it in every grocery store from Maine to California. Perilla never received this unification. It remained foreign in each separate encounter. Korean restaurants called it one thing. Japanese menus called it another. Botanical papers used Latin. The plant never became familiar. It never integrated. It never built recognition. The ancient historical record tells a completely different story about this plant. In China, around 200 AD, scholars compiled a text called the Shennong Ben Cao Jing. This is the oldest surviving pharmacopoeia in human history. Perilla appears prominently in its pages. The text describes using the leaves for respiratory ailments and the seeds for digestive problems. 2,000 years ago, Chinese physicians already understood this plant had serious medicinal value. In Korea, a royal physician named Hyo-jun spent 15 years of his life writing an encyclopedia of medicine. He finished it in 1613. The book was called the Dongui Bogam. Within its pages, Hyo-jun documented 17 distinct medical uses for perilla: treating persistent coughs, calming severe nausea, reducing painful inflammation, promoting healthy digestion, easing breathing difficulties. The Dongui Bogam became Korea's most important medical text for the next 4 centuries. It guided physicians through generations, yet Western scholars did not produce an English translation until 1999. 386 years of accumulated medical knowledge sat locked behind a language barrier, while Western medicine developed in complete ignorance of what Korean doctors already knew. In Japan during the Edo period, which lasted from 1603 to 1868, perilla cultivation reached 90% of farming households across the islands. Rural families grew it for food on their tables. They grew it for medicine in their cabinets. They grew it for lamp oil to light their homes after dark. Before electricity reached Japanese villages, families pressed perilla seeds to extract oil for their lamps. One single crop served 3 essential functions simultaneously. The plant was not a luxury. It was infrastructure for daily survival. Now here is what matters most if you are thinking about resilience and food security. Perilla is relentless. It self-seeds with a ferocity that borders on agricultural aggression. A single mature plant produces between 1,000 and 4,000 seeds every growing season. 85% of those seeds will successfully germinate when conditions allow. Seeds that fall to the ground remain viable in the soil for 5 years or longer. Plant perilla once during one good growing season. The next spring, it returns without your permission. The spring after that, it returns again, and again, and again. You cannot stop it from coming back. Korean farming villages have documented perilla patches growing continuously on the same plots of land for 10 generations of the same families. No replanting required. No purchasing new seed each year. The crop simply continues producing decade after decade. In agricultural terminology, this is called naturalization. In practical terms, for a home gardener or small farmer, this is permanent food infrastructure. One decision by one ancestor feeds their descendants for centuries without additional investment. The nutritional profile of the leaves alone would qualify perilla as a superfood by any reasonable standard. 100 grams of fresh perilla leaves contains 3.9 grams of protein. This exceeds spinach. This exceeds kale. This exceeds most of the leafy greens that Western nutritionists celebrate on morning television. The calcium content reaches 230 milligrams. The iron content hits 1.7 milligrams. Vitamin A concentration measures 5,520 international units. The leaves provide a complete nutritional package from a plant that requires no annual replanting, but the seeds hold the real treasure. The seeds are why this story matters so much. In 1991, researchers at the National Institute of Nutrition in India conducted a detailed analysis of perilla seed oil. They measured the fatty acid composition using gas chromatography, and they found alpha-linolenic acid concentrations ranging between 54% and 64% of total oil content. Alpha-linolenic acid is the plant form of omega-3 fatty acids. A 64% concentration is unprecedented. No other plant species on Earth comes close to this number. Consider the comparisons that make this finding so remarkable. Flaxseed oil contains approximately 53% omega-3 fatty acids. Nutritionists celebrate flaxseed as a miracle food. Health magazines write glowing articles about flaxseed smoothies. Chia seed oil contains approximately 58% omega-3 fatty acids. Health food stores charge premium prices for tiny bags of chia seeds. Celebrities endorse chia pudding recipes. But perilla seed oil contains 64% omega-3 fatty acids, the highest concentration ever measured in any plant species in the history of botanical science, and almost no one in the Western world has ever heard of it. This knowledge gap requires explanation. Something happened in the 20th century that locked omega-3 into a specific narrative, a narrative that excluded plants entirely. In the 1970s, 2 Danish researchers named Hans Olav Bang and Jorn Dyerberg traveled to the remote coastlines of Greenland. They wanted to study the Inuit populations living there. They noticed something that seemed medically impossible. Despite eating enormous quantities of fat from seals and whales and fish, the Inuit had extremely low rates of heart disease. Their arteries were remarkably clean. Their cardiovascular systems functioned beautifully. The researchers needed to explain this paradox. Bang and Dyerberg identified omega-3 fatty acids as the protective factor. The Inuit ate fish. Fish contained omega-3. Omega-3 protected the heart. The logic chain seemed complete. Fish consumption became the official explanation for Inuit health. Fish oil became the proposed solution for Western heart disease. By 1980, the supplement industry recognized an enormous commercial opportunity. Fish oil capsules entered the consumer market. Marketing campaigns taught Western consumers a simple, memorable message. Omega-3 comes from fish. Want omega-3? Eat fish. Cannot eat enough fish. Take fish oil pills. The message was clean. The message was profitable. The message became medical orthodoxy. By 2024, the global omega-3 supplement market reached $4.2 billion in annual revenue. Fish oil capsules dominate this market. Krill oil captures the premium luxury segment. Algae oil serves vegetarians and vegans who reject animal products. Every single product in this market requires industrial processing, extraction facilities, purification equipment, encapsulation machinery, quality control laboratories, and temperature-controlled shipping across oceans. The complexity creates massive barriers to entry. The barriers protect enormous profit margins for established companies. Now consider perilla from a business perspective. The seeds can be cold-pressed using simple hand tools that cost less than $100. No industrial facility required. No patents possible on the basic act of pressing a seed. No extraction technology to license. No capsule formulation to protect with intellectual property. A farmer with a wooden press can produce omega-3 oil in a backyard shed. A gardener with a mortar and pestle can do it in a kitchen. A crop that self-seeds every year cannot generate repeat seed sales. There is no reason for a customer to return to the store. A product that requires no processing cannot generate processing revenue. No factory needed means no factory profits. Perilla threatens every single link in the omega-3 supplement supply chain, not because anyone decided to suppress it, because the economic incentive to promote it simply does not exist. Search PubMed, the primary database of medical research. Type in fish oil omega-3. You will find more than 15,000 published studies. Researchers have examined fish oil from every conceivable angle. Now type perilla oil omega-3 into the same search box. You will find approximately 400 studies. The ratio is 37:1. This disparity is not because fish oil works better than perilla oil. This disparity is not because fish oil is safer or more bioavailable. This disparity exists because fish oil has funding. Supplement companies sponsor clinical trials. They fund university research departments. Jesus. They pay for studies that support their existing products. The results flow back into marketing materials and advertising campaigns. Perilla Research receives almost no Western industry funding because no Western industry profits from perilla. The studies that do exist come primarily from Korean government institutions, Japanese university laboratories, and Chinese research hospitals. The knowledge exists, but it exists in languages that Western medical databases historically ignored or under-indexed. The translation barrier functioned as an information wall. 2,000 years of traditional medical knowledge accumulated on one side of that wall. $4 billion of annual supplement industry revenue accumulated on the other side. The wall remained intact for most of the 20th century, but modern research has finally begun to confirm what Asian physicians knew centuries ago. The clinical evidence is now appearing in peer-reviewed Western journals where English-speaking doctors can actually read it. In 2003, a team of Japanese researchers, led by Dr. Takashi Makino, published a clinical trial in the Annals of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. They gave perilla extract to patients suffering from seasonal allergic rhinitis. The patients in the treatment group experienced 50% reduction in their allergic symptoms compared to the control group. 50% reduction from an herb that grows like a weed in backyard gardens. The active compound responsible for this effect is rosmarinic acid. Perilla contains more rosmarinic acid than any other culinary herb ever tested. More than rosemary, despite what the name might suggest. More than basil, more than oregano, more than sage or thyme or marjoram. Rosmarinic acid reduces inflammation through mechanisms that pharmaceutical researchers have studied extensively. The compound inhibits specific enzymes that trigger allergic responses in human tissue. The science is clear. The applications are documented. The plant remains virtually unknown outside Asian communities. In 2004, a team of Korean researchers led by Dr. Ryang Kang published findings on perilla and cancer prevention. The compounds in perilla leaves inhibited tumor growth in laboratory cell cultures. The specific anti-cancer agent they identified was perolaldehyde. It is a molecule found almost exclusively in the perilla plant. The research appeared in Biofactors, a respected peer-reviewed scientific journal. Western oncologists did not notice. Western cancer patients did not learn about it. The study sits in the database waiting to be discovered. In 2010, Korean researchers published a study in Nutrition Research and Practice examining diabetic patients. The patients consumed perilla leaf extract over a controlled period. Their blood sugar levels after meals dropped by 23% compared to baseline measurements. That is a 23% reduction in postprandial glucose response from a leaf that is self-seeding in any garden with minimal care. The pharmaceutical industry sells expensive drugs that target this exact metabolic pathway. Perilla does it for the cost of seeds and patience. The pattern becomes impossible to ignore once you see it. Every benefit that perilla provides threatens an existing industry category: omega-3 supplements, allergy medications, blood sugar management drugs, anti-inflammatory treatments. Each category represents billions in annual revenue. Each category could be partially replaced by a plant that costs essentially nothing after the first planting. This is not conspiracy. This is basic economics. Companies fund research that supports their products. They do not fund research that makes their products unnecessary. Universities pursue grants from available funding sources. The available sources favor patentable interventions with commercial potential. A self-seeding plant cannot be patented. A cold-pressed oil from public domain seeds cannot be protected. The funding flows elsewhere. The research follows the funding. The knowledge gaps persist for decades. The seed industry reveals the same structural pattern. Globally, farmers spend $60 billion annually on seeds for major commodity crops: corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, rice, all annual crops, all requiring new seed purchases every single planting season. The business model depends entirely on repetition. Farmers must buy again and again, year after year. Perilla breaks this model completely. Buy seed once, plant once, harvest forever. Every spring, the previous year's dropped seeds germinate without asking permission. The crop expands on its own. The farmer's ongoing costs disappear. A permanent food supply establishes itself on the land. No corporation benefits from this transaction occurring. No quarterly earnings improve. No shareholder value increases. The plant was never actively suppressed. No company ran a campaign against it. The mechanism was far simpler than conspiracy. The mechanism was neglect. A plant that generates no repeat revenue generates no marketing budget. A crop that needs no purchased inputs needs no input, suppliers promoting it. The agricultural system that rewards profitable plants simply ignored the most valuable ones. But the plant waited. It always waits. Perilla has grown continuously in Asia for 2,000 documented years. It survived dynastic collapses when empires crumbled. It survived wars that destroyed cities and scattered populations. It survived industrialization that transformed landscapes beyond recognition. It survived being completely ignored by the most powerful agricultural and nutritional system in human history. And it is still there, still growing, still producing 64% omega-3 fatty acids in its seeds. Still waiting for anyone willing to pay attention. You can grow it yourself starting this season. Perilla thrives in USDA hardiness zones 4 through 10. This range covers most of the continental United States. It covers equivalent climate zones across Europe. It covers large portions of Australia and New Zealand. The plant tolerates poor soil that would kill more demanding crops. It tolerates drought once its root system establishes. It tolerates neglect that would doom most vegetables. Plant seeds directly in garden soil after your last frost date passes in spring, or start them indoors 6 weeks earlier if you want a head start. Space mature plants about 12 inches apart for optimal growth, though Perilla tolerates crowding without complaint. Water occasionally during the first season while roots develop. After that first year, watering becomes optional. The plant adapts to whatever rainfall your local climate provides. Harvest leaves throughout the entire growing season, from late spring through early fall. They taste like a complex combination of mint and basil with hints of anise and cinnamon. Eat them fresh in salads for immediate nutrition. Wrap them around grilled meat the way Korean families have done for generations. Add them to soups and stews for depth of flavor. Dry them for tea that stores indefinitely. The culinary options match the diversity of Asian cuisines that have explored this plant for 2,000 years. In fall, allow some of your plants to flower and set seed. The flower spikes will produce thousands of small, dark seeds. Let those seeds drop to the ground. Let them scatter across the soil. Let them establish next year's crop without any action required from you. This is the self-seeding promise in action. One deliberate planting becomes a permanent presence on your property. Collect excess seeds for oil production if you want to access that 64% omega-3 directly. Small hand-operated seed presses cost less than $100 and last for decades. Cold pressing extracts the oil without damaging the delicate omega-3 content through heat exposure. A single fall harvest provides enough omega-3 rich oil to supplement your diet for an entire year. No capsules needed, no fish required, no industrial supply chain between you and the nutrition, just your backyard and a few minutes of patience. The seeds store almost indefinitely when kept cool and dry. Traditional Korean households maintained seed supplies for many years without degradation. The emergency preparedness value is immediately obvious. If supply chains fail tomorrow, the seeds in your garden shed still grow. If stores close next month, the plant still self-seeds. If industrial systems collapse next year, the omega-3 content still measures 64%. Emergency preparedness. This is what genuine resilience looks like. Not bunkers filled with freeze-dried emergency meals, not supplements shipped from factories across oceans on cargo vessels burning diesel fuel. Resilience is a plant that returns every spring without being asked. A plant that feeds you, a plant that medicines you, a plant that replants itself while you sleep. The question was never why did Asia hide this herb? Asia hid nothing. Korean grandmothers wrap grilled meat in perilla leaves at every family dinner and have done so for generations. Japanese restaurants serve shiso with every piece of sashimi to customers who recognize it immediately. Chinese medicine shops stock dried perilla on open shelves visible to any customer who walks through the door. The knowledge was always public. The knowledge was always available. The knowledge was always there for anyone who cared to look. The real question is why Western systems failed to notice for an entire century. Why 15,000 studies on fish oil and 400 studies on perilla oil? Why $4 billion spent annually on supplements that a backyard garden could replace? Why the highest omega-3 concentration ever measured in any plant remained unknown to populations paying premium prices for alternatives with 53% concentration? Research and money shaped what people learned. The answer is not conspiracy. The answer is economic structure. Systems see what benefits systems. Research follows funding. Funding follows patents. Patents require control over intellectual property. Perilla cannot be controlled. It self-seeds without permission. It spreads beyond boundaries. It naturalizes into wild populations. It becomes free. What cannot be owned cannot be sold profitably. What cannot be sold cannot be marketed effectively. What cannot be marketed does not enter public consciousness. 3 generations of Western consumers grew up without ever hearing the word perilla, not because anyone deliberately hid it, because no corporation profited from revealing it. But you know now. You know that the highest omega-3 plant on Earth exists and has a name. You know that it self-seeds forever without replanting. You know that 500 million people consume it every single week. You know that modern clinical research validates ancient traditional applications. You know that you can grow it in most temperate climates with minimal effort and no ongoing costs. You know that one planting creates permanent food infrastructure on your property. The seed companies will not tell you this. The supplement industry will not broadcast it. The medical establishment has no financial incentive to spread it widely. The information threatens too many established revenue streams across too many profitable industries. But the plant does not care about revenue streams. It cares about reproduction. It cares about spreading its seeds. It cares about establishing itself wherever soil and sunlight permit growth. For 2,000 years, perilla has pursued this single biological agenda across every Asian nation that gave it ground to root in. It will pursue that same agenda for 2,000 more years, regardless of what any industry wants. The only question remaining is whether you will plant it before the next video you watch makes you forget it exists. Subscribe now to Gardening Explained with Harry and discover more secrets that science forgot to tell you about.